The Biden transition team is at work at more than 50 agencies since the head of the General Services Administration, Emily Murphy, ascertained the election last week. In her letter to President-elect Biden, Murphy asked for changes to the law that requires the GSA administrator to ascertain the election. David Hawkings is editor-in-chief of the Fulcrum. David, welcome. It's nice to see you again. What do we know about how the GSA administrator got, it's my opinion, stuck with this job in the first place?
Right. So this is a law that's been around since the early 1960s, as I understand it. And the key problem with the law, which Ms. Murphy and lots of good government groups, the Partnership for Public Service, other groups say that the biggest problem with the law, well, there might be two problems with the law. One is that the GSA gets this responsibility in the first place. The second, that the requirement is that he or she, the administrator of the General Services Administration, ascertain the, quote, apparent winner, but doesn't really define what apparent is. And that is a problem. And of course, in the world in which we live now, with a series of close elections, picking the apparent winner, I mean, she, Ms. Murphy, was sort of on solid ground, at least for the first couple of days after the election, not knowing who the apparent winner was. So the proposal would be to either define what apparent is or to take this out of her responsibility altogether, set some sort of numeric, some sort of algorithm for deciding, or simply say to both candidates after the election, you can do certain transition things even if there is a dispute underway, like there was, as those who've been thinking about this know. You can do these things on the off chance that you will be the president-elect in the end. And if you're not, then you're a responsible person and you'll behave accordingly. So this is, since 1963, this has only been a problem twice. One time we all know about, which was 2000, when there really was no apparent winner until for the 30 some odd days between Election Day and when the Supreme Court decided Florida, and then this year.
Other media outlets have debated the similarities and differences between 2000 and 2020 ad nauseum. We won't do that here. Who has to do what, though? This is a matter of somebody in Congress introducing a bill and saying we're going to clarify this. Is that a fair read on my part, David?
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. I'm sort of presupposing the obvious. Right. The only way to change this would be through legislation. And the only way for legislation to happen, of course, would be if Mrs. Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, and whoever ends up as the majority leader next year agrees with President Trump. That after President Trump is gone and President-elect Biden is the president, to make this fix. It could be, presumably, it could be a simple thing that members of both parties agree on. It might actually be one of the rare, I think it should be, one of the rare low-hanging fruit bipartisan things that a Congress next year could get done.
In defense of you, David, I don't think there's anything in 2020 anymore, any such thing as obvious. This sounds like the kind of thing that would wind up being tacked on to something else if everybody agrees on it. National Defense Authorization Act, or maybe even an omnibus spending bill, which appears to be what is coming down the pike, right? That sounds like over the Thanksgiving holiday, the two chambers struck a deal that doesn't at least appear to be objectionable to the White House.
Well, right, that's right. And so as we're speaking now, members of Congress are coming back, getting ready to come back to town. It looks like the House will reconvene on Wednesday now. The Senate, I think, on Tuesday. Members have been told once they return to Washington to expect to be here until they are sent home with the end of this Congress having happened, that will not be this weekend, that Congress will be, the members have been told, at least of the House, to stick around for this weekend to do a pretty tall stack of work in a pretty short time. As you say, there is an agreement on the so-called top line numbers for a catch-all omnibus spending bill to keep the government running beyond, I believe it's December 11th, through all of this fiscal year. But there are no details. The committees are working as they do, and as we've discussed dozens and dozens of times, lots of the low-hanging fruit, lots of the small decisions are being made by staff, by a subcommittee chairman, and a ranking member here and there. That's got to get done by December 11th, or else a stopgap into the new year. The NDAA, as you say, It's been enacted without fail every year for as long as I've been alive, which is 60 years. This could be the year that breaks that streak, potentially, over an issue that does not have so much to do with military policy per se, but with the highly charged debate over whether military bases named after Confederate generals should be renamed. President Trump has said he would veto such language. There appears to be enough votes in Congress to override such a veto. So that's a mystery. COVID relief, also a mystery. COVID relief could catch a ride. Presumably a small amount of COVID relief could catch a ride on the big omnibus bill, but probably not the kind of grand trillion-dollar or multi-trillion-dollar bill that Speaker Pelosi and Secretary Mnuchin tried without fail to negotiate for so many months this summer.
30 seconds left. What a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being an absolute metaphysical certitude, what's the chance that we get this omnibus spending bill by December 11th?
I would say a 5. How's that for picking the middle? And the real reason, I think, is the president is a wild card here. The president is a wild card about the NDAA, as we just talked about. The president, I think, is a wild card in general about what he wants to do to leave his mark on the way, highly reluctantly on the way out the door. Will he decide at the very last hour to try and exercise some sort of veto pen? Will he decide out of some measure of spite or anger about the federal government to shut it down for a little bit? Don't know.
David Hawkings of the Fulcrum, thanks very much.
Thank you.